Good evening and welcome everyone. Again, this is Jason on Scream Life, the radio station where we scream life to a world of dry bones. We're going to get right into it. The topic is rage. We want you to be prepared, have an open mind to all different thoughts, and we're going to have the chat lines open. We're going to be playing some great music for you to think about the lyrics and all that, and we'll be right back for the chat.
Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a
Rage. I'm still just a rat in a cage. Nice song. But the subject today is rage. I'm here with Elnez, Moselle, and of course, our head and tech man, Spiger.
Good evening.
Rage. Definitions. If we just go by what I pulled up, I got anger, fury, violent anger. A violent anger, fury. What did you get, Moselle?
I have a violent passion to destroy by letting go of morality and self-preservation in order to destroy.
Okay. All right. Elnez?
Rage to me is something that is triggered when you hide your emotions and try to manipulate yourself that you are happy.
Okay, so we got fury, a passion for
Destruction.
a passion for destruction, and hiding your true emotions to the point where you have to release it in an outlet. And rage being just one of those outlets in which it can be released.
Yeah.
So what is rage? What would you say rage is? Or what causes it?
Well, you have to let go of the only thing that can resist or destroy rage, and that is love itself.
Okay.
I definitely agree with that.
I agree with that too. Because I wouldn't put, if we were to put polar opposites, and we have love on this side, and I guess the opposite of that would be hate, I'd probably lean rage more towards hate, because I believe, well, could rage be driven by more than just hate? Because we know it's driven by a strong passion, but can it be driven by love? Can love drive rage?
I don't think love would drive rage. I think love is a combatant of rage. It's what's used to subdue it, and rage doesn't come from I don't really think it comes from anything other than anger, because what I believe rage does, or what happens, is that anger has to be allowed to roam free, and when it's not combated, it kind of silences the other senses in you. The things that cause love to flow, the things that allows your peace to regulate your mind. Rage comes when anger is allowed to roam free inside of you and shuts all of those things down and is given full control.
Right.
When it's given full control, then you have rage.
Right.
And it will affect the way you think. And it can cause you to make some really bad decisions.
Right.
And people suffer for that.
I would definitely agree that it's not going to be a co-pilot with, say, contentment or peace. No. It's going to take over, and it's going to be the dominant emotion of that moment.
And I agree with all. I was thinking rage is a buildup of irritation and resistance against your nature to express itself. Proverbs 1:7 tells us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Conviction and caution causes us to stop when death is knocking. Of course, death is caused by sin. Without God or the knowledge of God, the hunger for gratification only increases until there is only total debacle.
Wow. Gosh. And to have something like that controlling you, driving you in your actions, that's, man. And then there's different things that stimulate rage, I'd agree with. A lot of people would want to use, they say, I'm driven by love. No, you're driven by rage. You may have loved someone, but to be driven by rage, you have to disregard certain things. Your focus has to be on one thing. When you're enraged, one thing I thought about was, if anyone's ever seen Lord of the Rings, was the orcs. The thing that set the humans over the orcs in Lord of the Rings is the fact that orcs are made to only focus on one thing at a time. They focus on chop this person, attack this person. If someone blindsides them, they can't just turn and react. You know, they can't do the whole Star Wars battling more than one person at a time thing. They have one primary focus, and they go after one target. That's what I thought of when I heard rage. Your focus is releasing what's inside of you, because we watched a video earlier that showed when a guy dropped a soda bottle, and the second time it bounced, it shot off like a rocket. Because if that which is built up inside, that acid, that carbon dioxide, is not released, it'll destroy the vessel that it's in.
And I too agree with that. I understand that within that video, the soda bottle is not a living creature. It's a bottle. It's plastic. Mm-hmm. But notice what the bottle did. The bottle hit the guy, hit the fence, hit the ground. It had no regard for itself. It had no regard for anyone. It was just...
it was controlled by what was in it.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Because it was given control.
Right.
Hey, you have to give that control to rage. And it starts small. It can start with anger. I personally don't believe that anger is rage. I believe a buildup in anger can lead to rage. But anger still has that, it's still subdued because it's coexisting with consideration. Mm-hmm. I consider this, consider that. If I hit this table, I might hurt my hand. If I kick this door, I might stub my toe. If I push this person or throw this thing, I might hit somebody. All of that has to exist with anger. But when you allow rage to take over, it controls you, not as you would control anger.
Rage is different than anger, and rage is uncontrolled actions out of anger, and losing temper is the same thing as rage. Your objective is to hit and let it all out, and you're not thinking about anything else, and it becomes hate, and nothing else matters to you. But but rage only brings satisfaction that you are destroying this thing. So rage only stops when you are satisfied.
Right.
Accomplishing whatever it is that you want to break.
I think there's definitely you're trying to get satisfaction, whether it be out of hitting something, breaking something, hitting someone, or saying something to hurt someone. You're trying to gain some sort of satisfaction, some sort of fulfillment, and you use rage to gain that. And I mean, it's almost like a parasite. When you allow the anger to build up because it's eating away inside, you're feeling all this stuff you're losing, and you feel the only way to get it back is to war against the people, your surroundings, to war against that, disregarding the parasite that's inside you, eating you alive. That's I guess the stimulant, the thing that stimulates the rage or the anger. In order for you to get rid of it, you have to first remove that thing that's inside you. But when you allow rage to take over, you just take action on what you see. You may break something that you value. You may hurt someone. You may say something to someone, and you'll never be able to take it back because you acted in rage and allowed rage to control you.
And I agree. I was just thinking about what he was saying earlier. I just started thinking that, rage is the evolved form of anger. And when something evolves, as in the evolution theory, not to really, I don't live by it, but when something evolves, it evolves to what's that word called?
Adapt?
Yes, adapt. But at the same time, with rage, it's almost as to, how should we say it? Become the total essence of what anger is, because one of you said earlier that even when you're angry, you still have to consider. Where rage is without considering, anger without actually considering.
Now, there's one way to look at anger too, and I'm about to post that. It can be defined as a temporary state of madness because it is temporary. It's emotional.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And you can either control it or allow it to control you. You have to either be in control of it or yield to what it will cause you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And what it causes you to do is what you yield to. It'll bring things to your mind, but you still are always in the driver's seat. And you have to choose to either do it or not do it. And whether or not you give in to anger will determine how many of those things that would subdue anger, it'll determine how many of those things will stay alive. If you make a decision that leads to more anger, you've suppressed peace. You make another decision in anger, you subdue your joy and your right mind, and then pretty soon you'll be outrageous, outright outrageous, and the decisions that you make will be led because you were yielded to anger.
Right.
Temporary state of madness.
Right.
And rage just gets triggered for something small, like a simple action of getting hit in the face. The fact that you getting hit in the face is not what makes you angry. Well, it is what makes you angry, but you hitting him back is not because you're just enraged, but or that you're just angry and that you just want to do it. It's not instinctive, but it's like a natural reaction. It's like a natural reaction. Your first reaction to when somebody hits you is you want to hit them back.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's more extreme.
And how often does it end with just that one hit back? Especially if you have a crowd around, someone hits you in the face. We think that just one hit back would just do it, but that never does it. If you get hit in the face, you're not going to just want to hit the person back once. You're going to want to beat them down because you have tons of pressure coming at you. For one, you've been hit in the face. That struck your pride. For two, you have all these people around looking. You have your friends looking. You have people you don't like looking, that you don't want them to label you as weak or easy to take over. You got the girl, your crush that you may have in school. She may be looking on. You don't want her to look at you as some little nerdy boy or whatever. All this stuff builds up. And rage really becomes the outward manifestation of what is happening inside. And nobody can really see it until it's released. How often do you have to look into someone's eyes to tell that they're enraged? You have to really look in their eyes and see all that is built up over time. If you have a soda bottle, that's why I can't stand when people shake it before it gets home, because you can't really tell that it's about to fizz up and overcome. It's sitting steady. You have no idea what's going on inside. But once you release it, give it just a little release at the cap, and before you know it, it's all over the place. You're like, where did all this come from?
Yeah.
But you had no idea the whole time. You were just shaking it, and you were building up the pressure. And if it didn't have any kind of release,
that's a whole nother thing right there, the pressure.
Hey.
Yeah. And rage are like hard ocean waves. It's a continuous process in that when it hits you, it becomes small, and it goes and then builds up again and hits you the exact same way constantly. And it just
and you can even say that it comes in waves, because it flares up.
Right.
It flares up. It can go down, but when it flares up, you know it's there. That's a very good example.
Yeah.
You can liken it to a wave.
And that is repetitive. And it wants to be fed. And you have to choose whether to feed it or not.
I will also say that rage is selfish also. Even in the example that you was explaining about you're in a situation, it's not humble either. In that case.
Right.
Because you're thinking about the situation you're in and how you feel.
Okay. That's definitely. And just to pop it out there, what types of rage do you think there are? Is there different types of rage, or is it just one Hulkamania, go
Well,
crazy
I would say
attack
just
everything?
based on what Moses was saying, it can build based on the situation you're in. You can be in your car and somebody cuts you off when you didn't expect it, and then something flare up, like Ilnan said, a wave, something flare up in you, and you may yell at the car even though the person can't hear you, or blow your horn, like that's going to make them really, really mad. And sometimes it does. But when they're focused on what it is they're trying to do, it really, most of the time, doesn't affect them. But somebody give you the finger. That can stir something up in a person. You know, a wave, if you will, since we're using an example. A wave. But how long that wave lasts, is it a current? Is it like a ripple? Or is it a tidal wave? Because a tidal wave can do a lot of destruction. And if you allow that thing to control you, you will end up doing destruction, you know, because you haven't allowed yourself to be controlled. Who can control a tidal wave but God?
And just like what Spiker said, because like in science they talk about the producer, the consumer, and the decomposer. The consumer will feed on the producer. Rage is like a consumer that will feed and build up on what produced it, and what it produces, it feeds on it, and then it feeds.
And only if a continued source of food continues to be given to the consumer can the consumer continue to grow. The rage won't be able to grow if you're not feeding it, if you're not fueling it. Or even sometimes, because we know that you're not just sitting there, well, everyone's not usually just sitting there trying to find more and more reasons to be mad. Sometimes you have outside sources fueling it. But you have to be the filter to control what fumes get to the fire to make it blaze even more, and what fumes you allow not to get in. Because if you overwhelm your fire with oxygen, it eventually will, well, if you cut the oxygen off from the fire, it eventually will go out.
Right. Because the oxygen is what feeds it.
Right.
And causes it to be able to breathe. If you suffocate a flame, you have a burning candle, and you have it in one of those jars, like the Glade jars. Yes, I said Glade. And you put a top on it. What you're doing is cutting off what allows it to breathe. You suffocate it, it's going to die. And that can happen with rage, just like it's produced. It's produced because the other things, the joy, the peace, all of these things you allow to be suffocated, not giving it what it needs to breathe. And something's got to live on because you're living on. And the thing that usually happens, anger takes the place of all these things. And when enough anger is built up, it's like a forest fire to a match. A match can start a forest fire because it has to subdue everything else. And that's what anger does with rage. In rage.
Definitely. We have another lineup of songs coming up at you. Just enjoy. Continue to think on that. Also, just to give a foreshadow of the future, think about different effects that rage has. Not only on the person who is enraged, but the effects it'll have on the people around you. And the effects of what you do on how that will affect people around you.
Okay,
Now,
when we come back, we're going to also go to the chat box and kind of mix it up with the chat box. Before we go, I do want to introduce the next song, which is actually Chinko from the upcoming mixtape January Fever. And for those who don't know, I'm telling you, this thing is going to be powerful. The anointing is in the spirit of it, and if you listen, you just give some time. I know you got to wait till January, but it's going to be well worth the wait. The song is called The Come Up, and that's the lead single for the Iron Sharps January Fever.
enjoy. We're having some technical difficulties, as you may have noticed by the long moment of silence. Again, make sure you go into the chat box. The chat box, Skype, and if you have our numbers, you may call in. Just as a reminder, make sure you, we have Skype, the chat box, and those to whom it may apply may call one of our numbers and call in. Leave your comments on Rage. Difficulties. Devil is a liar. Chinko the
So I came with nothing, I was born with something. It was cold as the winter, now I'm as hot as the summer. Now my plane's taking off and I'm far from exhausted. If I could sum it up, thank God for the come up. So I came with nothing, I was born with something. It was cold as the winter, now I'm as hot as the summer. Now my plane's taking off and I'm far from exhausted. If I could sum it up, thank God for the come up. I'm back like I never, rapping is still mega. Relying on these jumpers that left remain clever, and I will never change. I permanently stain records, determined to do the same thing again and again. But stranger things happen for that change. Ain't looking to gain fame, man. This game ain't a game. In a house full of memory, let's revisit my pain. You can kill that white picket, sensory explicit time. Shall I remember in a century of misfits when I didn't? Only God knows how am I to live in it. Who tilted the frame, got me throwing down pictures. Screw faces, I'm like they suffer with Down syndrome. No kid inspired to be grown men rock fisted. A greater chance to enlist if nobody's here listening. But I refuse to die, I'm feeling like something's inside, pointing me to live and telling me to rise. So I came with nothing, I was born with something. It was cold as the winter, now I'm as hot as the summer. Now my plane's taking off and I'm far from exhausted. If I could sum it up, thank God for the come up. So I came with nothing, I was born with something. It was cold as the winter, now I'm as hot as the summer. Now my plane's taking off and I'm far from exhausted. If I could sum it up, thank God for the come up. Regurgitating, trying to force it out. Awkward like staring directly at an abortion house. Entered in its hectic, sometime I feel like just walking out. Doctor's diagnosis, prescription, take this and walk it out. I'm like a patient who constantly needs insulin. Gated snake eyes, cause Satan was trying to fence him in. I'm all threads, Christ, go ahead and stencil in. As far as I'm concerned, that remaining paper is penciled in. Ever since the notarized letter got approved, clean air, now I could breathe much better. I'm bifocal focused, I can see it more clearer. The more that I draw nigh is the more that I draw near earth, but I ain't nowhere near her. Farsighted, your choices becoming nearly heard. Word, I only shine when the sun is up. To sum it all up, thank God for the come up. So I came with nothing, I was born with something. It was cold as the winter, now I'm as hot as the summer. Now my plane's taking off and I'm far from exhausted. If I could sum it up, thank God for the come up. So I came with nothing, I was born with something. It was cold as the winter, now I'm as hot as the summer. Now my plane's taking off and I'm far from exhausted. If I could sum it up, thank God for the come up. So I came with nothing, I was born with something. It was cold as the winter, now I'm as hot as the summer. Now my plane's taking off and I'm far from exhausted. If I could sum it up, thank God for the come up. For the come up, 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 for the come up
This is a Cash and Play production.
cannot take this anymore. Saying everything I've said before. All these words, they make no sense. I find bliss in ignorance. Less I hear, the less you say. You'll find that out anyway. Just like before. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break. I need a little room to break, 'cause I'm one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. I find the answers aren't so clear. Wish I could find a way to disappear. All these thoughts, they make no sense. I found bliss in ignorance. Nothing seems to go away. Over and over again. Just like before. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break. I need a little room to break, 'cause I'm one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break. I need a little room to break, 'cause I'm one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break. Shut up when I'm talking to you. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up when I'm talking to you. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I'm about to break. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break. I need a little room to break, 'cause I'm one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break. I need a little room to break, 'cause I'm one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break.
Well, I almost gave up holding on, watching us give in to our fears. I almost believed, oh, the world is helpless sorrow. No hope for a bright tomorrow, but I'm not sure enough to give it up. No. Now as I learn how I must work for change, I nearly cave in from the weight. I almost believe, all the sorrows will consume me. To peace among men I never can see, but I'm not sure enough to give it up. I'll keep faith, like so many souls who won't be drowned by evil in the world. I have faith in mankind. Now our choices towards a healthy world. It's all to is about. For we hard work through time can change man's life. I know if we make some small changes now, we'll heal ourselves some way.
again, who is affected by your rage, and how does rage affect people? Me, generally, I just say, who does rage affect? Everyone. I think anyone around you, anyone within, I guess, a 5-meter radius, or anyone close to you, it will affect them because they won't want to see you in that state. It's like seeing someone on drugs. When you see them succumbed and brought down to that level by rage, you really feel bad. So I say it hurts everyone around you.
I did want to make mention of one of the comments that we got in from Michael772 said that when someone is enraged, they never consider themselves as the source of that rage. They try to justify themselves into thinking that it's not their fault. It's another battle within. And by battle, we mean a spiritual battle within. They never see themselves as a source of the problem. Leading into that, would you say that the person is the source, or is it things around them?
I think the things around them.
Is the source of the rage?
Well, it wouldn't be the source. Rage has to start within you. But I would say that the things around you fuel it, in that they can help the fire keep going if you don't filter it out. So then yeah, you would be the source of the rage. You know, because even if you don't make the fire blaze, if you form a spark or you start the smoke, even a little bit, you're the source of it.
And I agree. I was also thinking those things that was around you in the past, or that happened to you in the past, your memory is also a helping cause to you being the source of your own rage. Because you, the individual, refuse to either let go or seek the help and attention to allow it to be resolved when it was just irritation or anger.
And two, oh shoot, I forgot what I was about to say. Oh yeah, jealousy. A lot of times jealousy, I'm sorry, I went blank for a second. Jealousy, I would say, fuels rage. Jealousy of someone else, the state they're in, the fact that they can get away with doing something to you, but when you do something back, you're considered wrong or in the wrong. And two, we said who it affects. I say it affects the people around you. It affects everyone, and it affects you. Because even though you're operating in it, it's still eating it at you inside. Because as it's being released, it's still taking some of the stuff you need out with it. Even, we keep going back to the analogy with the soda, even when the things that are built up in there, the acid is released that's not needed to be in there, the things that are needed as well, the oxygen, those things are released as well. So it takes other things out that you need along with it.
And I too agree that it affects everyone around you, and especially everyone that's exposed to either seeing it or hearing it. You may have some people in the mindset to say within themselves, can I subdue this person that is enraged? Then you have those who may say, well, I don't want to be harmed by this person that is enraged. It can cause, fear, and also it can be a challenge, such as when you stand up to a grizzly bear, and the grizzly bear stands up to man the challenge, or to bear the challenge, in that respect.
And I agree with what they both said about rage, that it affects everybody in the environment and also the person, because despite what happens, they don't really know what happens afterwards, and you don't really care because it's something that is done and that is uncontrolled, and you don't think through it. When rage can lead somebody to kill somebody, but they never think about it as that people see me, and if they see me, they call the police and we go to court, I automatically go to jail. I'm guilty because I did it. and I know it.
And it eventually will come to light anyway, which transitions right into how rage affects the people around you. We know when we're saying that it affects those around us, but how does it affect them?
Well, I believe in two ways. I would say it affects them. It informs some people, and some people it motivates. I would say those who are resistant to allow themselves to become enraged or angered, they may seek ways of not allowing themselves to become in that state, such as when you see a criminal act on the news, or you may see it in live in person or read it in the newspaper. You know, you may have something to say about it. Say, well, I never do that, or you may say, well, you know, there's a way not to do that. There's a way not to do this or go that route. And also those who it motivates, it, like I was saying earlier, it either causes them to have fear or to arise to the challenge.
Right. I have a scripture from Proverbs. It's Proverbs 6, verse 34. It says, "For jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance." You had a comment from one of our viewers?
Yes, sir. Michael wrote in again about the effects of rage, who actually it affects. You're basically saying that everyone is affected, but you said, I think it affects the onlooker the most, because the person in rage has no control and knowledge of what is going on. So eventually, you know, it affects everybody, but he feels like it affects the onlookers the most.
Right.
Everyone but the person themselves, because they're not really mindful of what's going on. And I would agree with that, because initially, when you see people in a rage wave, they'll do things that they're really not considering other people. We talked about before the school shootings and things like that. What happens at the end is the person then begins to collect in their mind what it is I'm actually doing. When they really consider what just happened, most of the times in those situations, what we've seen, at least what's been displayed on the news, is it's a case where you had multiple killings, and then the killer turns the gun on themselves. You know, we've discussed this before, but it's not, you're not in the right mindset. So rage, when allowed to roam free, will cause you to do things that you wouldn't, that you're not considering. Now, it can affect the person in a positive way, though, if it's channeled correctly. And it can be channeled.
I agree, too, that it can be channeled. And it can be channeled into something. Because, I mean, in looking at jealousy, I think about relationships. If a woman can get mad at something a man did, and she could trash the house or she could clean the house. You know what I'm saying? She can channel that into doing something constructively, because she focuses it towards something. And rage, like was said before with the orcs focusing on only one thing, primarily what her goal is to release what's inside. And you can release that by doing something constructive. But when you're not considerate of what you're doing, you can affect people in a very bad way. Because even in rage, if you were to clean the house and people come, oh, it looks nice. Yeah, whatever. I mean, you're not looking for gratitude because you didn't do it for that. Your reason was to release what's inside. And that shows you're operating in rage.
And also, too, if it is put to use like that, then what will happen is, if it is allowed to be released, just like what you talked about with the soda can, once it's released, what's left? It's just the residue. You know, it doesn't have the same effect. But if you allow it to consume you, then it burns away. It's not residue that's left of the rage, it's residue that's left of you. Because you allowed that thing to consume you. You know, so I think if you stay enraged, if you're just doing something and you don't allow yourself to put it forth in an effort to do something, to accomplish something, then it'll destroy you inside.
And two, if you've ever had a soda that did fizz up and explode at the end, like you said, what was left? And many times the soda ends up flat. I mean, when my sodas explode like that, they don't taste fizzy the way they're supposed to. They don't have the same energy, the same life. They're empty, they're flat. And I'd say that in the moment of the rage, the ones who are affected the most are the people on the outside. But in the final analysis, the one affected the most, I would say, is the enraged. Because in the end, they have to live with what they've done and come to what they've done after the fact that they've already done it.
Rage is somewhat like a gun. It only takes a simple action for the gun to fire. And the gunpowder and the stuff that it builds up and whatever it feeds to it, it takes something for the finger just to flinch, and the trigger pulls and it fires, and it'll end somebody's life, and that's the danger behind it.
It's easy to release, but very hard to reconcile once the deed is done. It's rage. It can, like you said with the gun, all it takes is to flinch your finger, and the person is got a bullet in their chest. But how much longer does it take to get that bullet back out? How much longer does it take for that person to get to full recovery? What if you shoot the person in the leg, they end up paralyzed? How long will that road to recovery be? It's so much harder to resolve than it is to engage in.
I just had a question that popped into my mind. Can it, or is it able to be channeled before or after the rage wave hits?
Can rage be? Is that what you're asking?
One of you guys made a comment earlier saying that it could be channeled. I was asking, is it channeled before or after the person is enraged?
I'll pose the question. I'll go ahead and answer that. The way I see it is, it's going to happen during that wave. You're given an option. No matter what point you come to, you can always make a right decision. Right. I've come too far. I've done too much. And that's not true. You can always make the right decision at some point. So when you get to a certain level, my rage has gotten out of control. I've done this, I've done that. But when you come to another point where you can make another decision, you can still choose to make the right one and not let what's happened before or what you think may happen after affect your decision. Because rage can be subdued. I believe it can be subdued. And it can be channeled into something. You know, you can tear down a house. If you're needed to tear down a house, that's destruction, but it's constructive because it's channeling your energy into a positive thing. If the house needs to be torn down to build another one, or for the sake, or whatever the person's tearing the house down for, we won't go all into that. But if you are given a tool and you allow yourself to channel that rage into energy and release it through that hammer, you'll be using more force. And as long as you're not reckless, you're channeling it to do something to yield a positive result.
And if you're not channeling it correctly, just to yield a result, you want to see something happen. You know, you just want some outcome to come and fulfill this hunger you have inside. And the whole time you're being eaten away. Rage affects the people around you, and it affects you in that you're constantly, they're being hurt by what you're doing. At the same time, even as you're in rage, you're constantly being eaten away. Because if you've ever been enraged, at the end you feel exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally. You feel drained. You feel almost dehydrated. You feel like so much has been sucked out of you, and it is, because you have to invest a lot in rage, because rage is a high level. We're not just talking about getting angry. This is like the wrath level. This is the level where you just can't hold in what's been in for all this time. This is the boiling point where not just the water boils, but it starts to spill out of the pot, and the water's hot. So, I mean, rage is definitely something we have to not let ourselves get to that point.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what we're going to need to answer is, how do you resolve it? How can it be controlled? How can it be constructive? Is it all bad? Ultimately, this is things we'll have to answer in ourselves. Can I control this thing? This emotion I'm feeling towards this person, towards this situation, if I really let this be released, will I be able to control it? Like the Hulk. He knew once I release this, I can't control this any longer.
Yeah.
You have to consider that before you allow yourself to be brought to that point.
Rage isn't always a constructive thing, but sometimes it just gives you satisfaction. You'll be satisfied when whatever it is, when you've let it all out, it feels like it just left your body and that you've abandoned it. But it doesn't even change. It doesn't change what could have happened, because it can come right back as soon as you just let it out, because it can come back.
Right.
Well, I have here in my notes that I said that rage can't be controlled, only destroyed. And I have a lower level of excitement. Persons who come out of the military, in the briefing, they're briefed to know this enemy, that enemy, how to take out this enemy and that enemy. But when they're released from the military, they come home, and there's no agency really or place to truly debrief these soldiers. They wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweats, most times be about to kill everyone in their house because of flashbacks and bad dreams. I say only God's love can destroy or subdue this rage.
Second that.
I third that.
I third it too.
Man. Well, as you again go into thinking about how you would resolve rage, however you want to look at it, resolving once you've engaged in the act, or resolve not getting into the act, not allowing yourself to be brought that far, or once you've been brought that far, what do you do afterwards? Think about that. We have music coming at you right now. Enjoy. T-Bone, Let That Thing Go.
Yeah. Hallway and T-Bone. What y'all know about that? Let's go. I'm trying to change this music, my nizzle, it's official. I'm tired of hearing heaters that whistle and sizzle when gangsters pull out their pistols. I'm like only trying to get in the middle and settle the difference, cause too many rappers is tripping, don't nobody wanna listen. Plus I'm tired of all the cussing and cursing, so I started rehearsing, working on converting a better version for every person that's hurting, lurking, searching for life's purpose. Feeling suicidal and worthless, but you ain't certain. If you ready to die, leave this earth surface and cross over and see what's on the other side of this life's curtain. Call me the Moses of rap, taking it back to the days when this artifact was about the woman and cats. I'm sick of this rap. Matter of fact, how many more women you finna pimp and gangsters we gonna cap? We murdered them all. Pac and Biggie, they ain't here anymore. Better do something sound like trumpet, cause I'm going to war. To all the players popping off at the lip. Frontin' the street game like you a pimp. You're coming up and going down with the shit, bro. Better let that thing go. And all the ladies that be shaking their hips. Up in the strip club, stacking them chips. Top of the world, but you down in the pit, smile. Yo, you better let it's a nigga Robinson, the big pun who flip tongues on kick drums and leave rappers like fake thumbs from big guns. Better panic, cause I'm I'm charismatic and automatic when it comes to this phonographic magic. I gotta have it like an addict. I'm the magnet pulling these Asiatic and Hispanic bandits and make them put down their cannons. I'm standing for unity in rural communities filled with darkness and cruelty, where men get women paid off for nudity. It's soon to be all over. High crossover barriers of hate and racism. Plus I bring the crossover. I'm out to change all the images in our villages and all the religious criticisms from church citizens. Always pointing, judging, shrugging your shoulders at the adulterers, fornicators and cobras, but never question our culture. Biggie prophesied, ready to die. 50 took 5 and got rich, and Pike's mama still crying. To all the players popping off at the lip, fronting the street game like you a pimp. You're coming up or going down with the ship. Better let that thing go. And all the ladies that be shaking their hips, up in the strip club stacking them chips. Top of the world, put you down in the pit, smile. Yo, you better let suckers in the internet, trying to find kids for sex and placing bets. Credit card fraud is next. They break them checks for chicks on them porno flicks. When they shake their hips sick with them chains and whips, it gets even worse. Truth hurts, but don't be mad at me. I ain't the one getting paid enhancing your anatomy. And gradually they rotting out like bad cavities and periodically prostituting and armed robberies. This how we raise the little children of America to grow up and be criminals, rapists, and bomb terrorists. From the second they're born, innocent but torn between these two worlds, fighting for souls like a tug of war. Who's keeping score? Got juveniles in the morgue while killers winning awards and steady praising the Lord. They cheer and roar. Ego tripping has gotta stop, gotta shine and rhyme in his name instead of hip hop. To all the players popping off at the lip, fronting the street game like you a pimp. You're coming up or going down with the ship. Better let that thing go. And all the ladies that be shaking their hips, up in the strip club stacking them chips. Top of the world, put you down in the pit, smile. Yo, you better let that thing go. Yeah, we did it again. Boneyard Records, 2005, baby. We ain't stopping.
All rise. Case number 77752. Defendant KJ52 versus the Son of God in Murder 1. How do you plead?
Guilty as charged.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So go ahead.
I solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Now so help me God. When I testify, what I'm speaking of is a witness account of experience of a kind of love. I confess now to what I was guilty of making the very Son of God and I shed his blood. And I was guilty of the reason now why he was hung. And I'm guilty for every evil thing that I've done. I'm guilty for it all, I can't blame no one. I'm filthy with what caused the death of the son. It kills me to think that I was the one who shed his blood. I still think of the way he died now and how it was. It fills me with pain inside, I feel like throwing up. I can't escape, I can't lie, I didn't make it up. I was the only one who took the life, the holy one. This is the first time I confess now to what I've done, I'm guilty. Guilty. That's right, I'm guilty. God forgive me, I'm guilty. You know what? I'm guilty. Yeah, that's right, I did it. Right out in the open for all to see, and I never hid it, I got to admit it. They took the whip, ripped his back wide open, split it. I heard him cry every time they pulled it back and hit it. I wondered why was he silent now, I didn't get it. Watched him die while he cried out, no it is finished. I thought nobody would find out the crime that I've committed. I tried to hide out, it's too late, that's right, I did this. It's my time now, my own eyes have been a witness to my crime, now I'm speechless and I'm defenseless. Can anybody find out? It's obvious that this is my final time now, I finally come to my senses. I'ma climb down and take whatever I'm sentenced. I know why now, there's no way that I can miss this. Open my eyes now, I see him just for who he is. This, my guilt is mine now, it's so obvious that I'm guilty. God forgive me, I'm guilty. So I'm guilty. That's right, I'm guilty. So guilty. guilty. I'm just another person, just another man. I was the one that hurt him, finally understand. Now I know for certain I caused the nails to land. They left them dead and murdered, pierced in feet and hands. So now you heard it, I testified and I took the stand. No other way I could word it, this is my confession. And I never lied or perjured, told just